Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to our virtual day. We're going to go ahead and get started with day 4 of reading. Today, we're going to be reading a piece called Looking at Art. This is in your book, or you can just look at it on my screen. It's really up to you. Before we read, we're going to listen to our text about preparing to read so we know what we're going to be listening to.
Paintings, drawings, music, and dance. As you read, looking at art.
So they tell us that there are many different types of fine art. They can be paintings, drawings, music, and dance are all types of fine arts. When you're reading Looking at Art, they want us to look at the people or objects in the art. Think about, how does the art make you feel? What's the subject of the art? What is the character in the art? And what type of artwork is it? Is it painting? Is it dance? Is it music? So while we're reading, we're going to really think about how the picture or the art makes a story in our mind. So it's kind of like visualizing, but we're kind of doing the opposite. We are looking at the picture and thinking about what is happening in it. So we're kind of doing the opposite of visualizing. They give us the picture or the art, and we have to figure out what is going on. So let's listen to Looking at Art. So you're going to be an art critic today. As we're listening to Looking at Art, you're going to be deciding, do you like the art? What's going on in the art? So that you can tell us about the art. You've done this a lot in Mrs. Dillahay's class.
Looking at
So we're going to be studying this painting today. But let's look at how we're going to do this. We're going to connect text and visuals. So like I said, a painting or a piece of artwork is an example of a visual. When you're looking at art, you might think it's important to read the text first to analyze or study the visual. Many paintings tell a story. As you analyze a painting, you can ask yourself the same questions you might ask while you're reading a story. So we're going to use the same types of questions. What might you learn from it? What's going on in the painting? Connect text and visuals. Visuals can tell a story. Look closely at art to see how it supports the text. Read the text. What do you learn from it? Examine the art. Look at small parts of the picture at a time. Who and what in the story is the story about? Where does the story take place? Connect the text and art. What can you add to the text by looking at the picture? What can you add to the picture by reading the text? Our objective today is that I can use text and visuals to help me answer a question. This is coming from Standard 2RN 2.2. Again, this is just what the teachers have to do to make sure we're teaching you. It's kind of like the rules the teachers have to follow. And our standard is to identify the main idea of a multi-paragraph text and the topic of each paragraph. So we're going to help you use text and visuals to help you figure out the main idea. Today we're going to answer a question about the text and visuals. And why are we going to do this? Because it helps us understand what the author wants us to know about fine arts. So if we look back at looking at arts, what do you think the girl in the picture is doing? I'm looking at her. I notice she's looking up. I see some pictures or paintings on the wall behind her. So I think maybe in front of her, what she's looking at is another painting. And it looks like to me she maybe is either drawing the painting, so imitating it, drawing what's on the wall, or maybe she's writing about it. She's really concentrating and focusing on the art, isn't she? So I can tell that all from this picture. This didn't really give me any information about the girl. I had to come up with that in my head and take things from my backpack that I already know to help me understand. I know that when I look like this, I'm really concentrating. I know she has a pad of paper, so she's either drawing or writing. Look at the next one. Where do you think she is? Well, I noticed that there's paintings on the wall in the background. So I think she's at a museum, maybe like an art museum. And my clues are there are paintings in the background. So that's why I think she's at an art museum. Now let's look at the painting of the boy blowing the soap bubbles. How is the boy making the bubbles? I'm going to reread where it says, see his cheeks. If he were using big breaths, his cheeks would be puffed out. He must know the bubble will pop if it grows too quickly. The boy might be hoping the air will carry the bubble away. If you lived in France long ago, you might see this scene in your neighborhood. What else can you figure out by studying the painting? So how is the boy making soap bubbles? It doesn't really tell us how, except for he's using his breath to blow the bubble. So it looks like he might have a straw in his mouth. I know when I blow bubbles, it has to be something like a straw that has a hole in the middle so that air can go through. How is he making the soap bubbles? The first one says, the boy makes soap, bubble soap. What do you guys think of that? Does that answer how is the boy making the bubbles? Letter B says, the boy is making bubbles with a glass of soap and a straw. Does that answer how he's making the bubbles? The boy is making bubbles. Again, does that answer how he's making the bubbles? Indeed, with a glass of soap and a straw. Is that answering how he's making the bubbles? Which do you think, A, B, C, or D? If you said B, you are correct. We have a complete sentence, and it tells us how the boy is making the bubbles. Letter A just says that he's making bubbles. It's not telling us how. Letter B says the boy is making bubbles with a glass of soap and a straw. So they took that beginning of the sentence, the boy is making the bubbles with a glass of soap and a straw. C just tells us he's making bubbles. And D, with a glass of soap and a straw, is not a complete sentence. We want letter B. Nice job. Let's look at the next one. Let's look at this picture. This is a new picture. Can you read this picture? Just look at the picture for a minute. See what's going on. Who is the subject or who's the character in the story? What evidence do you have that helps you read the picture? For the next one, it says on an index card, write a caption for this picture. I'm going to change that to write this on your slate and send a picture of your slate to your teacher. So you're going to write a caption for this picture. So let's look back so we understand caption. So I may write a caption for this one that says, the boy is blowing bubbles while his friend watches. The boy blowing bubbles, looks like a little guy watching there. So that would be my caption. What would your caption be for this art? Again, you're going to write that on a slate, and then you're going to take a picture of your slate and send it to your teacher. If you need to pause here so you have time, you can. Go ahead and pause and then press play when you're ready. So why is it important to read the text and look at visuals? Well, visuals can sometimes give you information that the text doesn't, and the text can sometimes give you information that the visuals don't. So it's really important to use those two together to get all the information you can so that you can learn more of what's going on and understand and comprehend what's going on and what you're reading. Let's look at our reflection. What details from the image tell you the painting was made a long time ago? Look at that painting. How do you know it was made a long time ago? You thought something about his clothing is different. We don't really dress like that. It looks like he has long hair and a bow in his hair. We don't really see many boys wearing their hair like that these days with curls on the side. How would it look different if the artist painted it today? What do you think? If the artist painted it today, would it look different? If there was a boy leaning out his window, blowing a bubble? I imagine the boy is dressed like boys today, maybe in a t-shirt, a Pokemon t-shirt. Maybe he has a baseball cap on. And instead of blowing bubbles with a glass of soap next to him, I picture him with one of those soap bottles that you would get at the store that have the stick already inside that you can blow the bubbles with. Nice job listening today. Today was a short lesson, so we have some things we're going to do when we're finished. When we are finished with these activities, you are going to do these activities in order. So you're going to start with number 1. When you're finished with 1, you'll do 2. And when you're finished with 2, you'll do 3. So you're going to go back in your reading book and reread the puzzle. Your test tomorrow will be over the story. So it's really important that you reread it and make sure you understand the puzzle. When you're finished reading the puzzle, you're going to get onto IXL and complete Q1 in reading and Q2 in reading. Once you finish that, you're going to work on your morning work packet. For my virtual kids, this is not for you. You don't have that packet. And by the time you're finished, it will be time for book clubs. Thank you for listening today and have a wonderful day.